Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome back to another recommendation list. This time, going over 5 films you need to see before you check out M. Night Shyamalan's latest flick, Trap. Yes, this is one that, I gotta say, I'm a bit curious about. I don't know if I'm necessarily, over the moon excited about it, but I'm always down to see something from M. Night, because, he's the man of many twists, am I right? And just like him, there's a twist in this video. Ah, yes, that's right. I have a little bit of a curveball for you guys. No, this is not going to be the standard 5 recommendations before you see said movie. I am going to go over 5 of some of my personal favorite plot twists in horror films. Yes, I think that M. Night is one of those people where, again, like most, hit or miss, but one of the things that he's always known for and tends to always work into his films, not everyone but most, is a pretty out there plot twist, whether it works or it doesn't. But he's not the only one, of course, and sometimes people pull those off and they're really, really effective. So I am just going to go through, list a few films that have some of my favorite plot twists in horror. Now, keep in mind, these aren't going to be like the all-time greats of the horror genre. I know there are many, many plot twists that people are going to put above some of these picks, but these are just some of the ones that I find to be really entertaining or really got me more invested into the film itself. And with that, you should also know right up front, even though very self-explanatory, if we're talking about the plot twist, spoilers ahead. I am going to describe the movie, of course, give a couple of basic thoughts. I'll put a little tiny spoiler bar up as soon as I start getting into the plot twist itself. But yes, there are going to be lots and lots of spoilers throughout this video for the next 5 films. But as always, if you like these videos, if you like what I'm doing with this series, feel free to hit that subscribe button, go ahead and give this video a like, and share this with your friends. This series has been getting a lot of love from you guys, and yeah, I seriously cannot thank you enough. Kicking things off with number 5, we have a personal favorite in the slasher/home invasion subgenre, and I'm not discussing The Strangers. No, we're talking about 2011's You're Next. Yes, the film that in a lot of ways put Adam Wingard on the map. I know some of you will disagree, but this is the first film that I saw from him, and yeah, this seems to be the one that many people point to as the first of the Adam Wingard, Simon Barrett projects that they've checked out. And this one is great. I think it's a very simple film, but when we get into the twist here in a moment, you'll see kind of why I think this one sets itself apart. And it's not just for the twist. I think they do a lot of really engaging and cool things with our characters in this. Some of our main ones, personally the first one being Erin, she is our lead here, and they do a really, really cool thing with her character where they kind of make her have an interesting background. She's like a survivalist, so when shit starts hitting the fan for this family, she can kind of outsmart, outwit, almost Home Alone military style on some of these invaders. Now, of course, for those of you who don't know, the basic synopsis of You're Next is when the Davidson family comes under attack during their wedding anniversary getaway, the gang of mysterious killers soon learn that one of the victims harbors a secret talent for fighting back. Again, I really enjoy You're Next. If this is one you haven't had a chance to check out before, it's a very simple film, but I think it is really, really strong in its execution. It's brutal, and let's get into it. This plot twist that, yeah, it's not some strangers. It's not just randos. I mean, there's a couple in there, but they are all friends and family with, of course, Erin's boyfriend. And that just adds a little bit of an extra punch to this because, yeah, it was a hit job. He basically set all of this up so that way he would be kind of, I think it's Crispin is the one. Forgive me, it's been a little bit since I've seen it, but he sets all of this up so that way he can be the one who takes away the family's inheritance. And yeah, he's offering to split it with some of the killers. And yeah, it's one of those things that it honestly, when you first watch it, you're like, wow, that is clever. It's really, really immersive. It's really cool and captivating. I was just all on board with this when I saw it in theaters for the first time. Granted, it's not one of the greatest all-time slashers for me, but this is one that I do love to revisit every couple of years or so. And again, I think just having Erin be the survivalist, who that kind of works as a double twist in a sense because she's able to hold her own and really fight back, as they say in the description. I think it works really well. But yeah, him turning on his whole family, setting all of this up to kill his parents, his siblings, all for some inheritance. That's some twisted shit. So, fuck you, Crispin. And, yeah, that's pretty much why I love You're Next. Coming in at number 4, we have 10 Cloverfield Lane. And this is another one that I just personally love. I know many, many people hate the twist in this movie, but to me, I think that it's such a great film leading up to it that once we get that kind of final, 10 minutes, I just found myself really enjoying it. Now, before I get into that, of course, let's talk about the movie. What is 10 Cloverfield Lane, for those of you who are unfamiliar? Well, this is the debut feature for Dan Trachtenberg. You'll know him from Prey, and he's going to be handling a lot more of the Predator universe going forward. He's also done some work on the first season of The Boys. But this was a breakout. This is a bottle film, if there are any. It's just a bunker set up by John Goodman's character, who is kind of, again, this survivalist named Howard, who's kind of been predicting that, there would be a flood, a virus, aliens, whatever, are coming to basically wipe us out. And he needed to set everything up so he would survive. He's a doomsday prepper in a sense. So what ends up happening here is that Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character and John Gallagher Jr. Just so happen to wind up in his bunker. And yeah, they kind of start living through weeks with each other. They're just trying to get by and kind of wait out in this bunker until maybe it's safe to go outside. But as the film progresses, you maybe learn that maybe there's nothing going on out there. Maybe Howard's just a crazy motherfucker who's locked them into a bunker. And yeah, when you finally get all of the reveals, again, spoilers coming for you for the twist, we basically find out that, no, Howard wasn't wrong. Aliens did take over. They did come down, and they basically laid waste to a ton of people up there. Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character gets out unscathed, barely, from Howard, and then goes up there only to have to fight off a alien spacecraft of sorts. And again, this really jumps for a lot of people. People seem to really have been like, I love the movie, until those last few minutes. But for me, man, this was so great. I think that this is such a fun way to tie this back to the roots of what Cloverfield was, because you have to remember, we didn't have Cloverfield Paradox, which was a huge disappointment. We only had the first film, and that was essentially an American kaiju flick. And so kind of bringing it back to the monsters, the aliens, it worked for me. And honestly, I love this movie so much more than the first Cloverfield. I have no problem with Cloverfield. I think it's fun. But when you're talking about characters, writing, just building up tension and suspense, and something that I can put on and just get absorbed in, it's 10 Cloverfield Lane, 100%. And again, the twist may not work for everybody, but for me, it certainly won my heart. It certainly was what I was hoping for at the end, that we would get some tangible thing. And yeah, it really does make you look at the film a bit differently when you go back and watch it multiple times. So yeah, absolutely love 10 Cloverfield Lane. Check it out if you have not. Moving on to number 3, we have 2021's Malignant, which is, of course, directed and written by the great James Wan. Obviously, we all know him from things like Insidious, Saw, and of course, The Conjuring, at least the first two films, and the good films. But yeah, Malignant is such a strange movie, man. This is such an ode to deep cut horror fans. This is something coming straight out of like 1981 with this concept, and I think it has one of the greatest twists that we've had in the last 10 years. With, we'll get into it in a second, but before we do, let's talk about this film a little bit and what I love about it. It just has this grimy aesthetic to it that James Wan is so perfect at capturing. He's done it in many of his films, and you see it return here in full force. But it's not just that, it's that this film sets itself up to be kind of whodunit, who's going around. It's a slasher, who's chasing our main character Madison and who's going to kill her. But there is so much more going on under the surface in this one. But yeah, I think that this film is absolutely fantastic. For those of you who don't know, the plot synopsis is essentially Madison is paralyzed by the shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. And yeah, it's not something that we haven't seen before, essentially somebody who is seeing murders happen before they take place, so she thinks. But once we get into this twist, that is when the real brilliance and shock of Malignant hits us all. And it is the fact that the killer is Madison. But it's actually her parasitic twin that lives in the back of her skull. Yeah, no kidding there. Yeah, it is literally another person named Gabriel who is this fucking deformed tumor of a sense, get it, malignant, who lives in the back of her skull. He was also on her back. You see this fantastic practical shot where they talk about cutting Gabriel out, and man, this is just one of those concepts that, again, comes straight out of 1981. This reminds you of so many films like Basket Case and all these weird things with these deformed twins. And yeah, I mean, James Wan just absolutely nails it here. I adore this twist. It honestly was one of the things that saved this movie for me, because I'm not gonna lie, I was watching this and I was like, this isn't all that exciting. I don't know what people are talking about by saying that this is so crazy and so unique. But once Madison's sister and mom put in that VHS tape, it all blows up, man. Like, everything absolutely falls into place like it should, and it's spectacular. I love Malignant. If you haven't had a chance to see it, please check it out. It is so worth your time. Moving on into number 2, and yes, I have been basically praising a ton of newer films, films that have come out over the last 15 years or so. And I do want to pay some respect to some of the older ones, the classics, the ones that have some great twists in and of themselves. And no, I'm not going to go and hit any real heavy hitters. This is a film that I absolutely adore. Many of us horror fans who are into slashers and deep cuts do. And of course, I'm discussing 1974's Black Christmas. And the reason that I chose this one is because not only is it a film that's starting to get more recognition each and every Christmas season, people are starting to pick this one up as a great classic slasher. This has kind of a unique instance where this film came out in 1974, and then you have a film, When a Stranger Calls, the original, that came out in 1978. And they have a similar twist, kind of, plot point, I should say. But I think, and I've done some minimal research, so comments, you will correct me anyway, so go right on ahead and do it. But I think Black Christmas is the first film to use this twist. Of course, for those of you who don't know about the film, I'll save that for a second. But this is one of those films where you have a sorority, you have a group of women who are all staying in this house, they're in college, and yeah, there's a slasher killer around who's taking people out one by one, and it's it's all during Christmas break, of course. It's a great, fun, awesome classic slasher, directed by Bob Clark, who would later go on to do A Christmas Story. But let's expound upon this twist. So what ends up happening is we get the reveal that the calls are coming from within the house. Yes, our serial killer is taunting our sorority girls by calling them up on the phone, calling them a bunch of vulgar, terrible things as he's running around the house murdering them one by one. And the police are able to trace the calls, and yeah, they're coming from within the house, which again, by today's standards, a very, very worn out urban legend style trope, but this is one of the first films, I think, and like I said, minimal research here, was able to do this and actually put it on screen. And yeah, I think overall, even though this twist is, pretty standard by today's reasoning, this is still one of those films that I just absolutely love to throw on during the Christmas season. It's a great slasher. It's very simple. And yeah, it actually predates Halloween. So yeah, you got to give Bob Clark and the whole team some love here. I know Dave McRae is kicking ass with his It's Me Billy short films, but we really need a kind of a reinvigoration to this. I think if there's any slasher series that could use a pump up, it's Black Christmas. And so we have made it to my number one pick, my number one favorite plot twist, which again, as I said, very personal list. I know I'm going to get flamed for this, but the thing that really sets this one apart is it really gives you all that you're looking for out of what a good, well-rounded, strong plot twist can do to a film, and not only a film, but the experience of a film. And this film does that for me 100%. Like, this was a movie I was pretty lukewarm on. I was not excited for this. I went to the theater to see this specifically because we had just recently started the channel. And I probably would have skipped this, until the word of mouth got so strong that I absolutely had to see it. And I am discussing, of course, 2022's Barbarian. This is a kind of twist that, like I said, takes this film, for me, from being like a 2 out of 10, something so generic, very boring. I mean, I think the performances in this first act are fine, they're great, but I was just so disinterested in all of this. None of the trailers had sold me. I was just so like, this is going to be some stupid lab or trap or something in this basement. But when this plot twist hits and this reveal comes, it's just... It blew the film up for me. This became my favorite film of 2022 and my favorite horror film of 2022. I think that Zach Krieger absolutely played into his hand. Like, he laid everything out for me. He said, yeah, this movie's very straightforward. It's very much what we can expect from a modern day horror film, a thriller, a mystery with just some, again, generic tropey elements. And he blew it up. He made it something, again, like Malignant, that you don't see very often anymore. And we'll just dive right into that twist, because I just want to talk about it. And it is the fact that there is an incest baby monster woman living in the tunnels that are under this house. I mean, what the fuck, dude? Like, it's so great. I absolutely adore it. I mean, it is one of the most brutal reveals ever, where the mother comes up and smashes Bill Skarsgård's head against the rock wall. I was so engrossed by that. I was so just like, oh my fucking god, what is going on, man? Like, what just happened? And it's great. We have a fantastic needle drop after that, because we cut right from that moment where the tension has now exploded and the reveal has hit, and we're just so shocked, to Justin Long's character, who then takes us into kind of a completely different movie in a sense. And dude, this movie is just one of the best films in horror that we have had over the last 10 years. I am such a fan of Barbarian, and I hope to talk about it more on the channel. I think that it definitely needs its just desserts, with many, many more fans picking this up as time goes on. And we need a physical release of this. So please, Disney, I know you're watching this. I know you stalk this channel. You gotta make a physical release of this. Just a Blu-ray. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I know I'm always asking for the extra stuff. Just make it happen, please, because I need to own this. I have it on digital, but you could take that away from me at any time. I digress. Barbarian. It's just absolutely one of my favorites. It has one of the most shocking twists, and again, it does exactly what any good plot twist will do, and that elevates its project, and this does that tenfold. So yeah, that's my number one for you guys. It's Barbarian, no questions asked. So there you have it, guys. There are 5 of my favorite horror movie plot twists. Yeah, I know you didn't get the standard films that I would recommend for, getting excited to see something like Trap. I just thought this would be a lot more fun. I did have a list. I still have it. So maybe if we get this thing up to, say, 500 likes, we get 500 likes on this video, I'll release the list in the YouTube community page. So that way you guys can see what I was going to recommend. I did have 5 films picked out. I thought they were good fun. But yeah, this idea just kind of struck me, and I was like, let's do this instead. This sounds good. I like this. And that's what this whole series is about. I just want to have fun and talk a lot of different movies with you guys. So yeah, I think that this is just another one that maybe I could do more of later, because again, there's a lot of plot twists out there. There were a lot of things I considered for this, but again, I wanted to kind of go with my heart of hearts. And even now, as I wrap up this video, I'm thinking, man, I could have talked about this movie, I could have talked about that. And I am curious as to what you guys would put on your list. Obviously lots of spoilers, so I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you can't spoil it. Obviously we kind of have to if it's the plot twist. So just fair warning, if you've made it this far and you look in the comments, there will probably be some spoilers for other films, but let me know, what is some of your favorite horror movie plot twists? Maybe some of your favorite plot twists and thrillers and other, horror adjacent properties. I'm real excited to see what you guys come up with. And let me know if you're going to check out Trap this weekend. I certainly am. Like I said, M. Night Shyamalan, he doesn't always hit, but I am still excited to see what he cooks up nonetheless. So yeah, guys, that is going to wrap it up here for me. Check out some of our other videos. We're in the midst of Fantasia Fest, so lots of early reviews for horror movies that'll be coming up later this year and into 2025. So yeah, that's going to do it. So until next time, guys, I'm Dylan Newell, and remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live, 'cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna slash your ass.